Mm. Hi there. Oops. No, we're doing that wrong. Wrong setup. Hi there. Welcome to Taurus-Some Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do reading for Taurus energy. And like usual on this channel, we're going to do 2 rows. And the top row I refer to as high vibe Taurus energy. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Taurus energy. We all have our dualistic nature, and in Taurus, in high vibe Taurus, it could be putting in work and effort to grow and mature ourselves, kind of walk the talk, be who we say we are. If we try to present ourselves as having a certain level of education or skill or emotional maturity level, or that we're willing to do love, we really are that. Shadowy Taurus energy can be where we might try to present ourselves as someone who is who we say we are, who walks the talk, who's motivated and inspired to treat other people the way we like to be treated, to do love, but it can just be an illusion that they create. And that can be the truth when we do the difference between the top row and the bottom row at extremes, but the other way the bottom row can reference is it can just be some of our fears and insecurities and self-limiting beliefs and our comfort zone. We all like to stay in our comfort zone because then we don't have to face our fears to move forward in life differently. And in order to authentically move forward in life differently, we kind of have to learn some of the lessons that we were meant to learn from the last phase of life. And sometimes you're moving forward and some other people haven't learned that lesson. Sometimes people moved on ahead of us at different times in our life because we hadn't learned that lesson. Let's go look at the bottom row. We have the Page of Cups, the Sun, the Seven of Wands, the Death card, the Seven of Swords, and the Fool card. And the reason for the bottom row's reading is the Strength card, which is Leo. So in our Leo can represent our more worldly egoic nature. Otherwise, we learn lessons and then we harness more high vibe Leo energy. But with the Page of Cups, we all have lessons to learn in life, and we could have been more codependent. We could have been a little bit more in our ego. There was some truths in the Leo, is also represented by the Sun card. There was things we hadn't been illuminated to. And I view the Queen of Pentacles as Taurus energy. And Taurus has to also do with our philosophy of life. Just how we view ourselves, what we think is possible, how we view ourselves, how we view the world at any stage of life that we're at. We live our life that way because that's how we live it and think is just and fair. And until we go through some more life experiences, we'll kind of keep learning lessons at that stage of life until emotionally we've kind of been illuminated to some truth and realize that a way that we were living life, which could have been just and fair for us to live our life that way. I mean, when we're 18, when we're 21, when we're 25, whatever, we do think the way we think. We view life the way we view it. We live life the way we live it. It is just and fair because that's where we are at emotionally. And we have a certain layer of our ego nature, and learning these lessons, we kind of shed more immature layers of our more worldly egoic nature. But we will go live our life a certain way, and then during the course of living our life a certain way, we could learn some lessons in life. And that is going on this journey of the Fool card. We come in contact with these different people in the world. We're living our life a certain way. And it's kind of all to help us get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. And we can have these new beginnings, which is what the Sun card can talk about. And we view that way of living life as victorious and successful, and we defend it. That's what the Seven of Wands can talk about. And we go on that journey of that new beginning. But then, there comes a time where during the course of that new beginning, we did learn some lessons. And we're kind of in the death card. It can talk about death and transformation again, where I've kind of learned everything I needed to learn here. And I thought this way of living life, and the Seven of Swords, which is Aquarius energy, that this was my idea of the dream life. And yeah, for a while, and at that stage of life, that was your idea of the dream life. But again, it's part of a bigger dream, you know? So, yes, what was I all these different ages and stages of life? Yes. Did I enjoy them? Yes. Now I kind of realize that, it's time to go to the next stage of life. That these are all parts of like building the foundation of myself. Kind of with all the pentacles in the Queen of Pentacles, and the queens can talk about how we think and feel. When I had less lessons I learned, I viewed life this way and I lived life that way. But then as I kind of learn different lessons in life and hopefully learn to be inspired to kind of love and believe in myself. That would be high vibe Leo. Um, you know, I don't view life the same way I did before. That is, again, kind of like I completed that phase of life. I'm ready to detach from that idea of the dream life, like being at those different ages of life. And I'm ready to go on this new journey to face my fears, take the lessons I've learned, to move forward in life a little differently. We just kind of don't want to keep living our life the same way we've been living it forever. And so then we would probably communicate to some people in our life that we love them, we like them, but I'd like things to move forward a little differently. I've kind of, I've changed. I'm not the same person I was then. Do you want to move forward with me a little differently? And then those people have to decide if they are willing to take that leap of faith to move forward in that new way, or if that could cause them some mental conflict and they're still happy maybe living their life a way they live their life. That's still their idea of the dream life. To do things differently would maybe require them to take that leap of faith to kind of believe that they've kind of learned what they needed to learn there and invest in moving forward a little differently and maybe facing their fears or their insecurities, right? So for some people, that's the general gist, but you could have dealt with some people that, you do look at life that way. You just think, there's all these steps to growing and becoming all that we can be. And you assume other people think that way, that it's all part of the process. Hopefully, we'll be loving and encouraging to each other, and high vibe Leo energy that we both harness to help each other, work through those things that they might need to work through in the death and transformation card. Like, where could I be more immature, more codependent, more prideful, more stubborn, more manipulated by other people or my ego or the world or my friends or my family? Am I willing to, in high vibe Aquarius, have some more look at life from a bigger picture, um, be able to keep things in perspective versus maybe getting caught up in my head? The Seven of Swords can talk about being deceived and manipulated. In order to complete a cycle, the fives and the sevens are like the challenging times in those phases of life, because it does require us to harness a more high vibrational Aquarius than we might have. And, again, to have more hope and faith and belief in ourselves. The Fool card is Aries energy with some Aquarius and some Pisces. And Aquarius and Pisces both have to do with our dreams that we have. But Aquarius is of the mind, Pisces is of the emotional nature, and Aries is fire sign energy. Like, maybe from my mind, I might want to live my life a certain way, but emotionally, I also have these dreams that I want to pursue. So it's kind of being bold and brave enough to speak your truth, act on your truth, see what does kind of manipulate you, how your mind can manipulate you, your fear, your lust, your greed, your pride, your ego, other people in your life, your fear of stepping outside your comfort zone, and you offer love to all those things. And eventually some people that have done that work within themselves, can we all to a degree maybe want to go indulge in some poor past behavior or ways of living life, or reconnecting with certain people in our life that we've kind of already seen the truth that our truth isn't the same. Yeah, we could all feel that way emotionally. Scorpio can talk about these deep emotional connections that we have with people. But once you've kind of gone through this process and you're no longer deceived about the truth, you do know the truth. I know when I lived my life like this, it did not move my life forward. When I hung out with these people or that job, it was not aligned with my truth. When I was in relationship with some people, they could have been more immature, more full of themselves, more manipulative, more prideful, more defensive to love. And High Vibe Scorpio is also about wanting a deep, meaningful relationship and willing to learn these lessons, kind of to shed these work through these things that manipulate you. So even though some people had a dream with some people in their life, whether it's their adult child, brother, sister, mom, or dad, and they could have emotionally still want to have some type of relationship with them, maybe not to the degree that they did before, because they could find out, some of the people in all three of their water sign energies of Cancer, Pisces, and Scorpio, they're kind of more aligned with and inspired by their worldly egoic nature or themselves or things they like to indulge in to make themselves feel better. And it's kind of hard to have a more deep, meaningful relationship with them or kind of have a dream come into reality with them if the truth of what kind of more drives and motivates them is they're aligning with their more worldly egoic nature and you're more inspired by love. You have different, that's a big thing of in the Aquarius energy, that you have to you have to have the same truth if you're going to try to bring a dream into reality based on a core foundational truth. And with some people, we've already realized that their core foundational truth is different. So, the fact that we've kind of been illuminated to the truth, um, you know, we could keep our distance from some people. And part of it is they have their dream of how they want to move forward. We have our dream of how we want to move forward, like in friendships and relationships, ways that we think are just and fair, what we think is maybe acting with being loving and encouraging and supportive of people. And we could have already realized with some of those people that, that's not their truth. They would like to maybe stay in friendship or relationship, but shadowy energy can be where people want to be indulged in their more immature, stubborn, prideful, lazy, manipulative, whatever type of ways of being, right? And they're hoping that loving people will just keep indulging them in their poor behavior. And we can do that for a long time because we kind of have mental conflict about seeing the truth about some people that we love and have love for. But eventually we're not going to keep wanting to keep being in a more involved relationship with them if we feel like they're deceptive, manipulative. Shadowy Scorpio can be intimidating or controlling or act like a private detective in a relationship, or just not very connected in with their emotions and maybe more superficial and shallow, more about themselves or the ego or the image. And, they're happy living their life that way. And that's not our truth. So We work through our mental conflict about accepting the truth. High Vibe Leo is about, I've gotten out of my ego about it. This whole situation could have required me in the Seven of Wands to stand up for myself, to not keep moving forward with it, because knowing if the shadowy people want you to give up your dreams, to not grow and mature yourself, not stand up for truth and justice and fairness, and just live your life being more inspired to live from your ego. If it looks good by worldly standards, that can be Leo energy, it kind of looks victorious and successful. You should keep staying in this job or in this friendship or relationship with me. Let's keep doing this, or let's keep indulging in these things. I'm sure that'll make us happy. And over time, you kind of realize that living your life like that isn't bringing your dream into reality, that you also could have kind of gotten caught up in the illusion and caught up in these things, or caught up in the things of the world, and could have felt like, it is more about the ego and the image and the status, or looking like a shining star in the world. And it was tipped out of balance, where High Vibe wants a more balanced life and to feel more balanced within themselves and be in more balanced relationships. So they kind of realized their dream couldn't come into reality there. And just like some of you have done that, some other people are doing that right now. And you could be anywhere in this stage of relationship with different people at different times. Because sometimes we'll go through a situation with one person in our life to get us to see the truth. This is aligned with my truth. My dream can't come into reality here. But then another person in our life, it's like kind of working through the different people in our life who kind of don't want us to love and believe in ourselves and go on this new journey, because they don't want to go on that new journey. They want to keep repeating a certain pattern or cycle. And hopefully, because you love them, that you'll keep, not investing in your truth and in your dream, like trying to be loving and encouraging to them, to try to get them to work through their mental conflict or fears or insecurities. And again, it's kind of like trying to get us to see the truth, that if people were motivated and inspired within themselves, that's kind of fire sign energy. This is Leo, this one's kind of Aries. If that was the truth of who they were or want to be, they would naturally be inspired within themselves to kind of do that work. I mean, we all can want friendships and relationships and appreciate loving and encouraging people in our life. But when we have friendships and people working together with us, being kind of loving and encouraging to us, are we inspired within ourselves to do that work within ourselves? See where we work through some of that past pain and heartbreak, work through those fears, those insecurities, work at looking at life from a higher perspective, keeping things in perspective, not getting all caught up in our head, repeating poor past patterns. Some people do. And those are people we keep moving forward with. And there's some people that are like, well, I don't want to do that. How about we just keep doing this? How about you keep being a loving and encouraging person in my life, and I don't have to do that work within myself? That's their idea of the dream life. You kind of give up your dream of how you would like a relationship to work out because you have love for them, or, and they want you to give up your dream because their dream is not to do that. And eventually, you see that your dream is different. What you're motivated and inspired by is different. If they were motivated and inspired to do this work, to come out on the other side, they would, and they don't. So it's like, that's fine. You have the free will to live your life the way you want to live it. But I do have a dream, and I see it's not going to come into reality here, because it can only come into reality with other people who are willing to maybe be more authentic and emotionally mature and walk the talk and emotionally invest in people. Because shadowy energy of in people in their own Leo energy within themselves. They don't have to be a Leo sun sign. Anyone can decide to hide behind their ego nature, where it is more about indulging themselves in a relationship. I don't really more emotionally invest myself in people. That's a danger zone. I could get hurt doing that. I'm not going to do that. And then they hope to get other people in a relationship with them, creating an illusion, because high vibe energy is walking the talk and being who you say you are. They create the illusion that they're motivated and inspired by truth and love and growing and healing and maturing themselves and tempering their ego and being more independent, but that's not the truth. And they just hope that because they get people in relationship with them, that those people, because they're loving people, maybe, that then those people, because they're loving, like they can manipulate them. So they basically can get a loving person who's loving and encouraging, just and fair, tempered in their ego, emotionally mature and invested in them, to be in a relationship with them, and they're not that type of person. It's a mismatched relationship. And that's when also maybe somehow the death card and the sun and the strength card are universe cards. The universe is always there in our life trying to get us to see the truth. But, you know, pride comes before the fall, and we're all kind of egotistical. And we are a human being that has to work through these, but I love them. Isn't love what's so important? It's like, well, yeah, it's good to love people and it's good to be loving and encouraging. But the truth is, love is supposed to be just and fair. And other people are supposed to treat other people the way they like to be treated. You know, and people really have to emotionally invest in it. It's not just to look like love and quack like love and present themselves like they're loving. If you don't feel like you can have a deep, meaningful relationship with someone, it's because they harness their Scorpio energy differently. They kind of hide beneath the surface emotionally, because Scorpio is emotional water sign, that they have some mental conflict about taking a leap of faith and coming out from behind their ego to really more emotionally invest in people. But they can try to hide that basically they're in dead energy. You won't be able to give birth to like the deep, meaningful relationship of your dreams with them because they don't kind of emotionally grow and mature themselves, and they might not find it to be something they want to invest their time, energy, and effort into. You have to invest time, energy, and effort to deal with the truth of some things that manipulate you. And it can be some painful work to see how you kind of were immature or prideful or stubborn or codependent, to see how other people in your life were maybe more that way or manipulative or prideful or unjust or unfair, and to work through all of that so you can let it go, so you can be free of it, so it doesn't still manipulate you in the decisions that you make in your life. Because Taurus is about like the Supreme Court in our own head. All these things that we've gone through in our life and these life experiences, if we don't deal with the truth of it and work through our mental conflict of it, we just drag it with us to the next friendship, relationship, or job because we haven't freed ourselves from it. Kind of offering, I view high vibe Leo as offering truth and love to those things. And in the Page of Cups, offering love to those things. So that just to work through it, to see the truth of it. Look at some of those things that we kind of kept buried beneath the surface and how that influences how we interact with other people and in relationship with other people that isn't conducive to them moving forward in a more emotionally balanced, just and fair way. But Taurus is earth sign energy. That can talk about putting in work and effort, and that's a feminine figure. So it means emotionally you have to put in work and effort to work through those things. to work through your mental conflict of having a little more hope and faith and belief in yourself or in others or in love. And some people have no interest in doing that. Well, shadowy energy can be, I don't want to see the truth. I want to stay in denial of the truth. I want to stay in denial about the truth about me. I want to stay in denial about the truth about other people. Or other people can be, I just don't believe there's any, I kind of view high vibe Aquarius as believing there's a higher truth and justice to aspire to in the world. And some people are like, there is no higher truth or justice, even though they could try to present themselves in the world as someone who does believe like in a higher truth or power or justice. But really, that can just be, again, another illusion they create in the world so that other people will view them a certain way and get in relationship with them. But that's not their truth. And if you don't believe there's any higher truth or justice, then I guess we as human beings are the top of the chain, right? And some people think, I don't think there is any higher truth or justice. I think it is all about the world. And the world says we should make our life about ourselves and the ego and the image and the status and the money. That's my truth. That's why I want to get in a relationship. And that's why I think people should get in a relationship with me. And I think that's why they'll stay in a relationship and why they want other people to stay in a relationship with them. But maybe not because of love. This is good for my ego and my image. Or you be loving and I get to be shadowy. I think that's the way the world works. Whoever can manipulate loving people, the loving people are going to be manipulated by someone because those loving people have these illusions about what it means to be in a relationship. So, by golly, I'll be one of the people who manipulates a loving person. And they could have somewhere along their journey of life quit believing in themselves and in love because of some experiences they went through. And they decided that's it. I can only get hurt doing love. But there's other loving people who still believe in the illusion. Well, they're going to be manipulated by someone. It might as well be me. So, that covered a lot of different people. You probably know some people in some of those kind of energies. Because shadowy Taurus is a more transactional relationship. I might have these things, and some people did put in a lot of work and effort to have a certain status or image in the world, or physique, or attractiveness, or charm, or education, or knowledge, or something. But they could be quite emotionally immature because that wasn't something they invested in because they didn't maybe think that was that important. And then that's how they view life. I put a lot of work and effort to have whatever it is that they have that they think people should want to be in a relationship with them for. That, Leo energy can be, it shines very bright in some way. Attractive, charming, smart, materialistic, whatever it is. And then they think, I'm going to try to get me a love. People should want to be in a relationship with me. Well, sure, people can be attracted to people and get in a relationship with them. But then they maybe can't understand why people get out of relationship with them and move on. Look, I have these things. These are things that people value. You should want to stay in a relationship with me. I don't understand why those people moved on. And it could be because the other people realized you're kind of full of yourself. You're emotionally shallow or superficial. Or it is all about you. Or it is all about being in the relationship more for the ego and the image of it, not love. And I want to do love. And some of the shadowy people, it's just to go find someone else to go indulge them. Or the most important thing is to maybe for them to even be in a relationship for a certain status or image. High vibe people don't want to be in a relationship just to be in a relationship or for the status or the image. We are in Scorpio emotionally complex human beings. I am not going to more emotionally invest myself in things that aren't aligned with my truth because I do emotionally invest in people. I don't want to emotionally get myself more tangled up in people that I shouldn't get tangled up in. Because then I know it's hard for me to emotionally disengage. So, but other people, because they don't really emotionally invest in people anyway, they can just get in relationships because they're just indulging themselves in it anyway. So if you had gotten yourself in some workplaces, friendships, or relationships with people who are more bossy, controlling, stubborn, prideful, intimidating, kind of full of themselves, have some life lessons that they haven't learned yet, kind of have what you would consider a weird way of viewing life and trying to get things, trying to get people to work together with them, but they got some lessons to learn about maybe being more loving and encouraging and quit being so fearful and defensive or trying to do it by intimidating or controlling people. Whatever it is, some people have worked through their mental conflict about and their emotional conflict of letting go of people in their life and kind of distancing themselves from some people in their life who see their truth as different. They've been illuminated to the truth. They tempered their ego. They tempered their fears. The truth sets you free. They're ready to go on a new journey. And again, with this being the reason for the top rose reading and the Queen of Pentacles, some people emotionally are more invested in their more worldly nature of self, which again can be more about themselves. They can be like a bad mother to themselves. They emotionally indulge their more immature nature. And then they're looking for other people to do that too. And, or just more materialistic or whatever it is they like to indulge in to make themselves feel better. Caught up in the world. It's all about the ego and the image or the status or them. And you kind of saw the truth of it. So you had to do this work within yourself to emotionally invest in loving and believing in yourself. My dream can't come into reality here. So in the 10 of Swords, from the 7 to the 10, it's working through that 3 of Swords, which is Libra energy about the scales of justice. What we think is just and fair is different. Our dreams are different. So, but the 3 of Swords can also talk about being heartbroken. And to go from the 7 to the 10, you had to go through the 8 through the 9, and that is working through the truth and feeling stuck and in kind of two minds about it and kind of going back and forth about it. And then eventually, I can't stay in denial of the truth anymore. It keeps me stuck. I've had a hard time wanting to see the truth and admit the truth. But I can't stay in denial of the truth anymore. And then we have the Lover's card. And the Lover's card is Gemini energy about our dualistic nature. You can't keep moving forward in a relationship with someone who in their dualistic nature of free will is more caught up in the world, more maybe immature, more inspired by the world. They want you to detach from your truth, which is more being aligned with love and moving forward and being inspired to emotionally grow and mature yourself and keep being more motivated and inspired by love. It's like being in a mismatched relationship. You want them to detach from what in their dualistic nature is kind of their truth and make their life more about truth and love and growing and healing and maturing themselves and enjoying life, but within moderation and balance, and to continue to keep healing and growing and mature themselves. They want you to stop aligning with your more hopeful, believing, loving nature and make your life more about them or the world. And it's mismatched. And it's like, I accept the truth of it. Their truth in their free will, in their Taurus, in their Libra, in their Scorpio, in their Aquarius, in their Aries, in their Pisces, and their Cancer energy of what they love. What they love, their truth is different than mine. What I love is different than what they love. At a core foundational level, our truth is different. So the Five of Pentacles can talk about moving away from the Four of Pentacles, which can be moving away from a foundation that at one time we were holding on to, and we wanted those people to move forward with us, but we see that they're not going to move forward with us because that's either not where they're at emotionally or in their maturity level or something, and they got some lessons to learn. And sometimes people are just at different stages of life, and we've kind of learned some lessons that we're ready to move forward in life differently. Some people are perfectly wonderful people, but we can all be at different emotional maturity levels. Still haven't learned to love and believe in themselves. Still more manipulated, maybe by other people in their life emotionally, or by their ego nature or their defensive nature. Other people, but I think with some people in our life, we've come to see the truth. It is more about them. It is more about ego or image or money or status is the most important thing in their life, or them being indulged in their poor behavior. You have to be willing to temper your ego nature to even learn lessons in life. And some people can be quite okay with themselves. I don't have to do anything different. I don't have any lessons I need to learn. You don't want to be in a relationship? This isn't your idea of the dream life? Fine, I'll go find someone else to get in a relationship with me. But what they don't realize, if they keep not willing to grow and heal and mature themselves, or be more authentic, or have more hope and faith and belief in themselves or in others or in love, and keep being more emotionally shallow or superficial or acting like a private detective in a relationship, it's probably not going to work out well for them. But some of the people who are quite shadowy, they are looking for people who might be, well, for one, haven't dealt with people like them before, who will stay in this mental conflict and go through this cycle with them for quite a long time, being loving and encouraging to them until those people kind of work through it and those people leave. But they could be in a relationship and indulge themselves in a relationship and have someone being really loving and encouraging and supportive to them for years or decades. We have to accept the truth. We do live in a world of duality. 50% of the people at any given moment are probably going to be more about themselves and these things of the world. There's going to be other people who do naturally, authentically, interested to work together with people more cooperatively in a just and fair and loving way. The people who have went through this type of experience got out of their illusions that everybody's motivated and inspired by love, aren't they? Have seen the truth. And now when they go out in the world and they're moving forward and in the Eight of Wands, they're meeting different people in the world. When other people show them, oh, they go do something that's kind of immature. Now the high vibe people, I don't care how attracted I could be to you or whatever. And I certainly don't care how much money, status, or image you have. Yeah, thank you for showing me the truth of who you are. I'm moving on. And for people who are used to, you could say someone at a job, everybody else there could already know they're quite bossy or controlling or immature. But initially, that's people kind of wearing false masks. Oh no, I am not more immature or more bossy or controlling or petty or jealous or envious or competitive or a bully or whatever. Oh no, they try to present themselves as like high vibe Taurus, like they have learned all these lessons like other people have learned in life. But they haven't. They indulge their more immature, prideful, stubborn nature. And they try to, hope that other people won't see the truth of them and will keep indulging them in their poor behavior. Maybe it makes them feel powerful. Like, look, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And look, this person's confused and they don't know what to think, male or female. And it's like a false sense of empowerment because once the other people work through it, they have to go find a new supply. to make them feel powerful. Other people did the work within themselves to feel stable and grounded and inspired and powerful within themselves. These people try to find a false sense of empowerment by mentally fucking with other people, basically. And they'll probably go do it again. And, in a way, that's how God can use shadowy people for God's good purposes. The loving people have just as hard a time of accepting that people are shadowy because they're more motivated and inspired by love, but they keep wanting to not see the truth when other people show them eventually, oh, by the way, I'm more immature. Oh, by the way, I'm more full of myself. Oh, by the way, it has to be more about me, my way or the highway. Oh, if you don't do it the way I want you to do it, I'm going to try to intimidate you or control you. And oh, I don't want you to love and believe in yourself. And I'm going to do these things to try to stop you from loving and believing in yourself because I want you to stay here and be like my supply. Well, the funny thing is when people have gone through this and they go out in the world, they are not the same person that they used to be. The fives talk about change. They know the truth now. They know that there's people, not everybody's motivated and inspired by love or to work together with people cooperatively in a more just and fair way. And they're taking what they learned with them. Some people have learned a lot of lessons in life about different people. Maybe the more loving you are, the more hard lessons you've had to learn. Because it's kind of like you're equally out of balance, kind of like the empath narcissist paradigm. Because you are so abundant in being inspired by love, a lot of different people can want to be in friendship or relationship with you. And you have a hard time accepting the truth when people kind of show you, like, oh, they're immature. Oh, I'm sure they'll get out of that immature phase. Everybody kind of gets out of their immature phase. And then you wait and wait and wait, kind of waiting for them to change. And they keep being immature or reckless or impulsive or overindulgent. It's like you keep waiting for people to complete phases. Like, can we go? Can we move on now? And they're like, no, and it's kind of like I'm no longer going to get more involved with people. I mean, everybody can be people that I'm willing to get to know. That's like the Page of Cups. I'm willing to get to know people in the world as I go on this journey, being inspired by truth and love. I'm willing to get to know people. And then if they show me, oh, and I don't have to give them 25 chances. If they do things that show me weird shit about them, I'm just going to accept the truth right then. Like, note taken. I have noted that. I now know because more people who are more just, fair, balanced, stable, mature wouldn't do those probably certain things and act that certain way. So it's like knowing there's someone your dream can't come into reality with. It's not going to work out like that, but you know it. And, you might still have them in your neighborhood, in your workplace, but, you're going to go focus your attention more on people who you do think are more on the same page as you. If you do have to work with them, you have to work with them, but you're probably also not going to more emotionally, not get more emotionally invested in them because there's no point. It's like people who've already shown you that they have these more immature ways of being. So, if you have to work with them, you work with them, but I'm not going to be more emotionally invested in them. Just work with them to accomplish what needs to be accomplished or at the function or the community event or whatever. And I'm going to keep going on my journey. And if there's other people who are all caught up in that person and want to indulge that person or be the next person to indulge that person, they can keep doing that or be the next person to do it. But I've already seen the truth, so I've moved on. And then the Eight of Wands is about moving forward, and in Sagittarius energy, about higher learning and education. And wanting to wrap your brain around this game of life. And high vibe Hierophant Taurus is the Hierophant about kind of being a spiritual leader in the world, but in this particular Five of Cups, it kind of looks like the people are looking up at, that there is a higher truth and justice. It's not just about more of these things of the world and letting these things of the world more manipulate us, and being inspired in the Queen of Wands to emotionally invest in your truth and in your Taurus energy to take action in that truth and let other people take action in their truth. You realized you didn't enjoy it, so, whoever else still enjoys it at that phase of life, again, it doesn't have to be so negative. With some people, it really is because they were really shadowy people. But otherwise, it's just kind of like, oh, well, hey, can't blame people for being 25 years old and acting like 25-year-olds. I was 25 and now I'm 35 and now I don't act like that anymore. It's just a phase of life. And so, and then with some people, they are the same age as you, but it is kind of like they're at a different emotional maturity level. We can offer people truth and love and encouragement, and some people appreciate it, some people don't. Some people take it for granted. Well, some of those people got some lessons to learn. They're going to have to go, and some people get full of themselves. If you had been in a relationship with some people, and during the course of that relationship, you really kind of healed and grew and matured yourself in some ways, some of those people that you could have been in a relationship with could have been loving and encouraging and supportive people in your life. Well, that's what some people do when they're in loving and encouraging environments. They kind of do this work to work through their fears and their insecurities and their self-limiting beliefs, and appreciative that they're in loving and encouraging environments. They get inspired within themselves to kind of work through those things that used to manipulate them, partly because they don't want to be the one to sabotage the relationship, by repeating some poor past patterns. And you could have even looked up and admired some of these people, and you could have thought that those people were people you were going to go on a long-term friendship or relationship with. But when you did some of that work, it could have been okay for you to detach from some things and grow and heal and mature yourself somewhat. But you could have come out over time, you were kind of like, in tarot, they kind of talk about being on a different timeline. You really completed a cycle. You were ready to move forward differently. They wanted you to stay in the same timeline and keep doing this. Just, it's okay if you heal or grow or change or mature yourself somewhat, but not that much. Because then, in order for them to go with you, they would have to do that work and detach from some things that manipulate them and do some of that inner work. And that's when some of those people could have become afraid, that you were changing too much. You were loving and believing in yourself too much. And in order for them to go with you, they'd have to do that work, and they didn't want to, or they want to keep living their life the same way. So that's where they can kind of be intimidating and controlling and manipulative in order to make you stay. And then, which you wanted to maybe stay in the relationship, you just wanted it to move forward differently. But they would have to detach from things that manipulate them or come out from behind their ego and be more authentic and work through some things. And then they could have just decided, you can go. I'll just go find someone else who wants to do this. And so you can go through a period of feeling left out in the cold, is what the Five of Pentacles can talk about. And sometimes that's why, some people can be manipulative, turn their back on you, do all these things, hoping because you feel left out in the cold that you'll give up your dream and what motivates and inspires you and come back and indulge them in a relationship and do it the way it was. But you could feel, that's not aligned with your truth, but in a way they don't care. Because again, they don't care what your dreams are, what you're motivated and inspired by. It's more about what they want. Well, that's not really a just and fair relationship. And, some people go back and forth about that. And eventually, I might go through a period of feeling left out in the cold, but I feel left out in the cold now. I feel like I'm in a relationship with someone who doesn't want me to love and believe in myself and who might be more superficial and shallow. So emotionally, I feel like it's not inspiring and loving anyway. And eventually people work through that mental conflict that I'd rather feel left out in the cold, not being in a relationship with, like, having to wear a false mask too, creating the illusion of how wonderful everything is when it's not. I'd rather live my more authentic truth in high vibe Taurus. If I'm going to feel left out in the cold, I can then take action within myself to go invest in things I enjoy, the friends or family and activities and things in the life, and maybe myself and my education or my career or anything other than staying in something that's dead. This at least has the possibility that at least I won't be surrounding myself with people and having to indulge people maybe who are being more bossy or controlling or prideful or whatever. I'd rather go enjoy my life living my authentic truth. And aligning with that side of yourself that is aligned with that more hopeful, believing nature, trusting your intuition, investing in your own unique talent, skills, and interest. Those things were given to you as a gift to work with. Your intuition, your creative, inspired nature were all given to you as a gift. Use all those things to trust kind of that the divine has a plan for your life. And the people in your life who can live their life different, but be loving and encouraging of you going on your own journey. Like some of the people in your life would be like, would I go do that? No, but I'm comfortable here, but yeah, you go do your life, and other people are like, if you're not doing these things, then I don't want to be in a friendship or relationship with you. It's like, okay. But you're moving forward. And the Queen of Wands is holding one wand, and this is the Eight of Wands. So dropping something that at one time you had viewed as victorious and successful that you were defending in the Seven of Wands. As time goes by and you're kind of inspired by your truth and taking action in your truth, and you kind of see the action that other people take, it just helps more get clear about the truth of who some people are, that they're not who you thought they were. They're still repeating old patterns. They could still be trying to hide the truth, don't want to speak the truth, don't want to come out from behind their ego nature, keep indulging their more ego nature, their immature nature, and they could too have people in their life that, like, if those people don't move forward differently, I'm not moving forward. And they keep investing in something that's dead, but they just don't know it yet. But it helps solidify that what you're motivated and inspired by is different, that your truth is different. And then those things and those people are ways of living life. You're no longer inspired by it, no longer view it as victorious and successful. What's coming up for the high vibe people you don't see coming? The Chariot. Why? Because of the Page of Swords. So the Chariot is Cancer energy, about love of self and love of others and being emotionally balanced. Can I love people in my life and keep my distance from them? Yes. If they're immature, if they're being prideful, manipulative, full of themselves, acting in foolish, immature ways, take foolish risks. It's like, I'm going to, whatever. You do that with someone else. I'm going to kind of keep my distance. Why? Because, and you're going to move forward. The Chariot talks about moving forward victoriously and successfully, because the top road does represent being balanced. And when we're more balanced, it's like being in a car that all four tires are filled up equally, you know? And in the bottom row, it can represent that we have some lessons to learn, and we could think one aspect or two or three aspects of ourself. In tarot, we have the heart, the mind, the 3D nature, and our creative passion nature. High vibe people are maintaining balance within themselves, that those aspects within myself, my emotional nature, my worldly nature, my creative passion nature, my truth, are all equally important, and they're moving forward in this more emotionally balanced way from truth and love. The other people might have a problem with one or two of those aspects that they think are less important, and they keep thinking, I don't need to invest in that. I'm sure everything will go okay with me making my life more about these things. And it could just be more emotionally investing with their ego nature. So, but because you are willing to speak the truth and kind of emotionally invest in your truth and stand up for your truth, that is what's going to help you move forward really victoriously and successfully. And as you, in the pages of the Page of Cups and the Page of Swords, you're willing to get to know people, is what that means. The page is like kids going out. Hey, you want to play? It's not like the knight or the king or the queen. Just trying to get to know people, to get along with people. And, being who you are, not trying to manipulate and control or intimidate or being full of yourself, just trying to work together with people cooperatively. There's going to be some people that, they could have their own issues that they're dealing with that they're focused on, which could make some of them not really be receptive to other people. Other people are working on trying to get out of some things that aren't aligned with their truth. It's just trying to find people that are kind of open to it and more on the same page. But there could be other people that have gone through similar things, and they've already kind of gotten out of some of those things and not still in the midst of working on those jobs, friendships, or relationships that are more mismatched, who are more inspired. And maybe because they got out of those, they're feeling more balanced within themselves. So more open to maybe listen to their intuition to guide them. And some of those people, are the type of people you're moving forward with. And other people might want to move forward with you and whoever you're moving forward with, because they're inspired by your truth. And they think you are telling the truth and you're not trying to manipulate and control people or stop people from loving and believing in themselves, But you're also not going to tolerate people who want to keep being codependent on you in a way. What's coming up for shadowy people that they don't see coming? We have the Five of Pentacles, the Page of Pentacles, the King of Wands, the Six of Swords, and the reason is because of the Knight of Cups. Well, so the shadowy people love in shadowy Taurus more their worldly nature, and that's what they try to maybe tempt people to kind of be in relationship with them. Some of them like to play the poor, poor, pitiful me, I'm left out in the cold, won't you come be my friend? Some people try to create the illusion they're more motivated and inspired by love. But if they already have some people in their life who have wanted to move forward with them in a relationship, and those people have been trying to move it forward, and these people keep saying, no, can't we keep doing this? And oh, like you love me, or I'm your brother or your sister or whatever. Aren't you going to keep doing this and kind of indulging me here? And the other people are like, no, we're moving forward. Are you coming with or are you not? But it could have taken time, because the Six of Swords moves away from the Five of Swords. And the 5, the 6, and the 7 are all Aquarius energy. People can get in relationships with people. They could love them. They can want to work together with them. They want to move things forward. It's just that the more shadowy people create the illusion they're willing to do that too, but then they're defensive to love. They're defensive to having more hope and faith and belief in themselves or others or in love. And that's not really the truth. They want to be more indulged in the relationship. And eventually, the other people in their life eventually see the truth of it. They're more emotionally invested in the world and themselves. The King of Wands is Aries energy, so anybody can harness a shadowy Aries energy. The other people harness a more high vibe Aries and Aquarius. But the shadowy people hope that once they get people to invest in them in a relationship, then they'll just keep moving forward more with their truth. If you're going to bring a dream into reality, that's a normal, like, 3 of Pentacles. If we were to have a 3 of Pentacles here, you have your truth, I have my truth, I have my dreams and aspirations, you have yours. And together we work to bring this common dream in. It's not exactly all what you wanted. It might not be all exactly what I wanted. Everybody has to be willing to sacrifice some things for this common goal, the common dream. And that's what the shadowy people do. They create an illusion that that's what they're going to do, but it's just an illusion. It's really going to be more just their way. And it's really going to be more about them. And that's why they want people who might feel left out in the cold in some way or more codependent to get in a relationship with them. Basically, you give up your dreams and make it more about me and my dreams. It's one thing to be loving and encouraging of someone, and sometimes people could think, things would go back and forth. If someone's career is taking off, you might be loving and encouraging of that. But then when it's like, okay, well, now I would like to go invest in some of my dreams. And that's when the person's like, what? No, I still like it just being more about me. I don't really want you investing in your own unique things and talent, skills, and interest. That kind of gets me up in my head. And again, it could be this afraid of you shining your own light in the world in high vibe Aquarius energy. If you do that, then maybe other people will be more drawn and attracted to you, and maybe I'll have competition, and male or female, and maybe that would require me to kind of work through my lack mentality. I'm afraid you'll leave. Well, you maybe had no intention. I just want to invest in my own unique things that motivate and inspire me, that I love. But they could get up in their head and be fearful that if you do that, or you're doing these things that you're doing that's kind of changing your life in a way, that you'll leave them. Well, that was them getting up in their head and kind of not listening to their intuition. And some of those people sabotaged the whole relationship. But, the whole thing is to get you to see the truth of where people were at. And if God knew some people were more fearful and more insecure, and they weren't doing the work within themselves to work through that, yeah, eventually some things are going to come out to show you that you need to get out of that relationship. If you're ready to move forward and other people aren't ready to move forward, we can stay stuck in it for a long time, really conflicted, until you just can't kind of take it anymore. So more high vibe people are going to leave the more anybody who's in more immature, shadowy energy. And see, they're kind of unwilling to change, but they think other people should change. But they might end up being surrounded by people who are more like themselves eventually, which would be just and fair. And some people could have gotten kind of in their ego. Say you did get in a friendship or relationship with someone, and those people were kind of loving and encouraging to you in a way, and you did this work within yourself. Well, then they could have thought, well, shoot, you can go. I'm maybe going to go find someone else, and I'm going to go be loving and encouraging to them, kind of like social climbing. And in Taurus, maybe with more status or more image, I'll just go find someone else who feels left out in the cold, and I'll be loving and encouraging to them. And they didn't realize that people can provide a loving and encouraging environment, but you made the free will choice within yourself to change. But some people thought it was more because of them. Can they be loving and encouraging people? Yes. Is everybody who they go get in a relationship with going to be willing to do this work within themselves if they have some healing and growing and maturing to do? No. And then they could be like, well, why isn't this working? Why aren't these people changing? Why aren't these people kind of growing and healing and maturing themselves? It's like, because it wasn't you. Everybody could provide a loving and encouraging environment to people. And some of those people will willingly choose to grow and heal and mature themselves in that environment. And other people won't. And if we've been loving and encouraging to some people and they're not doing that, we can only do what we can do. And if other people are like, no, I want to keep doing this, like, okay, well, you're staying in a phase of life that my work here is done. Apparently, you have your truth, and how you might be living your life isn't the way I want to do it. Or you keep repeating certain patterns, like trying to keep me in that pattern. No, I'm ready to move on. And if you're not, you're going to have to go find someone else to play that role in your life to a degree, because some people just want to be indulged all their life, regardless of how old they are and their poor behavior. It's like, it's like, I'm tired of indulging you in your poor behavior. I'm ready to move on. And some of these people then, I think, if they're unwilling to learn lessons, and if they get themselves in a relationship with someone where it does look good by worldly standards, they maybe just stay in it. But it's not being in a relationship with someone who's more maybe authentic and loving, or if they've got another loving person in a relationship, it's to indulge in it till that person sees the truth. But otherwise, ultimately, it would be other people who are just like them. And they could not like that, because it's like, well, no, I wanted to be in a relationship with someone who is more loving and encouraging. It's like, but you're not more loving and encouraging authentically. You might get in relationships with people who act loving and encouraging just like you do, but they also like to live more from their mind than their heart. They also are kind of immature and kind of more about themselves and full of themselves and think you should love them. No, you should love me. No, love is about loving each other, but more shadowy energy is looking for someone to love you. Yes, we can want to be in loving relationships, but are we equally willing to not just be more about people investing in us and loving us? We in turn have to emotionally invest in them. And that's the part that some people kind of didn't get the memo on. Love is to be just and fair, and you are supposed to be authentic, and where you let your more hopeful, believing, loving nature out to play. And other people are like, nope, I'm not doing that. It's like, okay, well then you're probably going to be most likely surrounded by other people who live their life like that. Might look victorious and successful. The other people are looking victorious and successful too, being inspired by truth and love, and they might be more caught up in the illusion of how it looks in their ego and their image and their status, or it being more about them. So there you go, Taurus. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.